This is another little video on the Fool's Journey, and I'm not sure what to call this one because it comes after the Chariot, but it's not going to be meeting the Strength card, it's going to be meeting the Justice card. And so the thing is, in the Rider deck, the 8th card is called Strength, V118. However, in older decks, the 8th card was the Justice card. In this case, what A.E. Waite, the fellow who put this deck together, in order for the major trumps to correspond with or correlate with particular paths on the Tree of Life, he switched 8 and 11 and made the 8th path, or the 8th card, Strength, and the 11th card, or the 11th path, Justice. But I want to go back to the old-fashioned way and the more traditional way of correlating the number 8 with the Justice card. And this is partly because the number 8 relates or rules or relates to discipline and hard work and perseverance. This is because of the nature of the number. And so I think that this Justice card, because it represents the law, among other, because it's a justice system, and this card relates more to discipline and time and hard work. And because if you think about if you want to change the law, it's very difficult to change the law, because they look and say, well, it's been like this for the last 100 years. Why should we change it? And you say, well, because it's out of date and it's old-fashioned, but that doesn't matter. It's the fact that something has been in existence for a long period of time. It gives it credibility, or it makes it more valid, let's say, than something that's only been around for a short period of time. And so that somehow, I think the Justice card describes that kind of situation better than the Strength card. Okay, which is a different kind of thing that we'll get to in a few videos' time. And so I want to say the 8th card is going to be the Justice card. And now, the card before that was the Chariot, number 7. And somehow, you think of the number 7, you think of a week. It's like a period of time, and it's a little complete period, because a week is a week, and then you begin the week again. And that made me think of this. And so what I have here, this is a little mini deck that I like to use for the original Celtic Cross. So here we have the 7. You can think of the 22 major trumps as the Fool and 21 others. And I like that because 21 divides nicely by 3 or by 7, and you get 3. So you can actually lay 7 cards side by side, then another 7, and then a third 7 up top. So we've got the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant. I hope you can see this. Should be able to. The Lovers and the Chariot, which means that when you begin again, the Justice card is number 8, and it goes above the Magician. Okay, so week 1, and this would be week 2, or this would be, let's say, the physical plane, and this is the mental and the spiritual, or whatever it happens to be. And so having, okay, it's because we're going from 1 to 7 and then 8 to 15, or 8 to 14 rather. What we can see is that the Justice card, let me just gather this lot up. The Justice card, because of that connection with after 7, this represents the beginning of a new cycle. And it's so you're maybe going to go through similar experiences as you went through with the High Priestess and the Empress and so on. But it's like a new beginning, a fresh beginning. And this veil that we've got behind the pillars can be perhaps an indication, okay, this can be like the full stop at the end of a sentence. So we've gone through the first 7 trumps, and that's like, okay, we're going to close the door. We're going to draw a veil over what has gone before, and we're going to sort of forget about it. We know we've been changed by it, but we're going to begin afresh. We're going to begin again with a new beginning. And this time, we've got Justice as the starting point for a new cycle. And so with this one, remember we're doing the Fool's journey, so the Fool wants to know what he can learn from the Justice card. And so I'd ask you at this point, look at the card and imagine that you're the Justice card and I'm the Fool. And I say to you, tell me the secret of life. Tell me what's the most important thing for me to know in this next stage of my journey. And then you're going to give me an answer. And so you might look at the balance here. And so you would say to me, get things in a state of balance and harmony first. That's most important. Or else you might look at the sword and say, sometimes you just have to be decisive and cut out what no longer belongs. So depending on what your answer would be, I'd like you then to have me ask a second question. And so if you tell me, get things balanced first, I would then say to you, okay, if I'm all over the place and out of balance, how do I achieve balance? And that's a follow-up question for you to answer. Or if you tell me, use the sword wisely and cut out what doesn't belong, my follow-up question to you then is, how do I use the card? How do I use the sword? How do I know that I'm actually cutting out what no longer applies? And so we've got the answer from the Justice card, and then we've got the follow-up question from the Fool, who wants to know how to do what the Justice card tells him to do. And your answer is going to be the correct one, and it's going to be a good answer. Hopefully that's under 10 minutes. Well, I just looked at the little clock on the camera and it says 7 minutes, so that's okay. So I've got time to say one other thing, and that is, look at the Justice card. We've got two pillars, somebody sitting between them and available so we can't see what's behind there. And it sort of reminds me of the Hierophant, two pillars, somebody sitting between them. The High Priestess, two pillars, somebody sitting between them. And so you have to wonder, what are these? Well, we've got two pillars and somebody between them. That's what these three cards have in common. But what is the similar kind of lesson that they're teaching? Or what is a similar kind of advice? Or is, because the Hierophant and the High Priestess belong to the first seven, the first cycle, maybe in some way the Justice card has understood what the High Priestess and the Hierophant have to teach or have taught. And so can we assume that the Justice card knows the wisdom of the High Priestess and knows the understanding of the Hierophant? That maybe, because we've got a sword here, right, and a balance in the other hand. So maybe the sword relates to the Hierophant and the balance relates to the High Priestess. Or it could be the other way around, so that the balance relates to the sense of harmony that the Hierophant maybe is teaching the people who want to learn, and the sword is in some way the clear mental picture that the High Priestess has about what ought to be done or what has to be done in any particular situation. So by taking this card and relating the symbolism of the picture back to other cards, we can maybe see more in the High Priestess and the Hierophant. We can maybe see more than we saw the first time we looked at it. So that's another little exercise that you can look at. Compare justice with these two.